friends, and welcome to my first book video. I have 4 books today. Well, 3 I'm gonna talk about like in depth, and 1 I'm just gonna like touch on a little bit. These are all of the books that I have read in the month of October. Yeah, so this month also is the month that I actually like officially got into reading again. So yeah, let's dive right into it. I'm not gonna go in any particular order. I'm just gonna start off with this one. It's Untamed by Glennon Doyle. I love this book so much. I read this in 2 days. It's not that small, like I think 2 days is kind of fast for this type of book. I just loved it. I like soaked up everything that she said. It's divided into 3 sections. The part is called Caged, then the second part is called Keys, and the third is Free. And so she's like talking about how, well, not like in depth, she has 2 other books where she like goes in depth on like the divorce and stuff. She divorces her husband and then meets Abby, a woman that she like really falls in love with like on first sight. And it's not like a story, she just kind of like, there's a lot of short stories or maybe even essays. I think it's like short stories is the right term, where she just like talks about like her family, the first time she saw Abby, about her kids, a lot about finding herself and dealing like with struggles that she has. And I just really like this book. I feel like I'm not doing it any good or any, like I'm not living up to it if I just like talk about it like I do, because I'm not like a writer or like a super, you know, a person like that can talk about things like nicely and good. I don't know, but yeah, I definitely recommend it to everybody. And I, as you can see, I almost like worked on this book. I like not highlighted, it makes me angry when people like write into their books with like pens, not like pencils and you can erase, but like pens where they like actually highlight like words. It just I don't know, it makes me angry because I feel like books are supposed to be, you know, empty kind of, so that if I read this again in a couple of years, then I don't see like the things that stood out to me so and so many years ago, but I can like maybe find new ideas and new insights and stuff. So yeah, I just don't like it. So that's why I have like these sticky notes with quotes that I really liked. My absolute favorite quote was, "It might take us a lifetime. Luckily, a lifetime is exactly how long we have." And I think that's just so beautiful, because we oftentimes like stress about things that we need to do, and like, I don't know, I'm older than 20 now, I should have accomplished this and this and this, or like by 30 I want to do this, but like you don't have to accomplish it by 20 or 30 or 80 for that matter. Like you have like your whole life to accomplish the things you want. Maybe the things you want to accomplish change over time. Yeah, and like going along with this is like kind of also like kind of the theme of the book, I guess, is we can do hard things, because people as I said, I'm not like really good at talking good about things. Maybe I'll get better, I don't know. But people oftentimes are like, oh no, this is too hard, I can't do this, and oh no, I won't make it, I'm not good enough for anything. But like, if you just do it, you just overcome the hard thing, and then you can do hard things, you know. Like you can call a person that you're afraid to call, or you can like apply for a new job, or you can, I don't know, you can like just do things and like do the hard things and then get over it, and then you're like, oh, I did this hard thing, maybe I can do more hard things, maybe things aren't that hard after all, you know. Yeah, so I'll abandon everyone else's expectations of me before I'll abandon myself. And I think that's also like really beautiful. And I know this doesn't suit the book, but there's this song, it's called Real Life Sucks, and there's this line, I'll break before I bend. And I feel like that's like kind of the same meaning, because why would you bend, or like why would you like try to fit into someone else's expectation of you when you can just like do your own thing and just fill out your own expectations and just don't care what people think, or like don't adapt to that. So I think that's also really important, that we don't do that all the time. Another thing that I wrote down that I think is really interesting is how she writes about like God versus church. I'm not like a super religious person, and I think that that is like the thing. Like if you believe in God, it doesn't mean that you're religious, and just because you're religious doesn't mean that like you do everything right and you're like, I don't know if that makes sense. I don't want to offend anybody with this, obviously, but I think that she says that she was religious before, like going to church all the time and trying to be like a good I think Christian wife, but she then found like her God in herself. She calls it, I think, her knowing. And I think that's beautiful. Like, we don't have to, in Austria, we have to pay to go to church, like, yearly. And like, even if I like wanted to like pray to God and stuff, I don't have to like pay and go to church. I can just like sit in my room on my floor and like do whatever I want to do, whatever I feel comfortable with there. And I think that's also really beautiful. And then the last quote of this book, which I also really like, this is like a whole short story about her friend that did like this hot yoga class, and she wanted to leave because she was like dizzy and hot and really uncomfortable, but she just didn't leave. She didn't feel like she could get up and get out, even though the door wasn't locked. Like, there was nothing holding her back. She could have just walked out. And in the beginning of this story, she says the door wasn't even locked. Like, why didn't I just leave? And then at the end of the essay, it's just kind of like the idea behind all of this is because I have just remembered that the sun is shining, the breeze is cool, and these doors, they're not even locked. So like, nothing's holding you back. You can do whatever you want to do anytime you want. You can just like leave or change or, you know, whatever. So yeah, this is definitely a recommendation. I really, really like this book. I think everybody will take like something else away from this book, but yeah, this is a definite recommendation. The next book I'm going to talk about is the 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think by Brianna Wiest. I don't have the book with me because I borrowed it to my sister, but I wrote down everything I want to say about it. And I'm also going to kind of talk about The Truth About Everything, also by Brianna Wiest. This book definitely is a book that you can read like over and over again, maybe not like every month or so, but like I think in like 2 or 3 years I'll read it again, and I'm pretty sure that I will have completely different opinions of the things that I like read now or thought now in a couple of years, just because you can take so many different things away from the book. And I think everybody that reads this book will like have different like epiphanies and like ideas, and you know what I mean. I have kind of found out that there's 2 different ways that people read this book. The first one, which is what I did, is just, you know, like read like you read a book normally from like page 1, 2, 3, like just in order that it goes. And the other way is people just like pick out essays that they want to read based on, I don't know, what they're feeling, what interests them in that day. And I think like it obviously doesn't matter which one you choose, it's whatever is best for you, but I read it, you know, like as the book flows, I guess. And I think that every essay came to me exactly when I like needed it. So let me think of an example. Like, I'm like changing my work now and everything, and there were like essays about changing all of the sudden when I decided that I wanted to change my job, you know. So I think that's really interesting, but you know, either way works. But I feel like it just came to me whenever I needed them. Okay, so let's get into my favorite quotes. I'm just gonna read them off of my paper. One already goes with changing. I really love this one. You're always imagining what you want to do, yet never doing it. You've convinced yourself that life begins when all the pieces are in place, but in reality, life is the act of doing just that. Nothing else needs to be said here. This one also ties in with me for my work thing, because I used to complain and it was really hard for me to work there. But anyways, everything is hard in some way. It's hard to be broke and miserable, it's hard to live your dreams, and it's hard to be stuck in the middle somewhere. Everything is hard, but you choose your hard. You choose what's worth it. You don't choose whether or not you'll suffer, but you do choose what you suffer for. Also, don't need to say anything about this. People want to change their lives. They want to change the whole damn world, but they don't want to change themselves, which is, as it turns out, the one thing they can't change. Some love teaches us what it has to teach us in a month, some in a lifetime. I think you can apply this to everything. Like, this applies to love, a friend, which can also be love, I don't really know, work, family, anything. Then my all-time favorite quote from The Truth About Everything. The Truth About Everything is probably about like this big, so it's kind of a short book, but there was one quote that really spoke to me, and I think it's like so important that everybody knows this. You're not a democracy, nobody else gets a vote. No matter in what situation you're in, it's always like this, just always works, you know. So these are also 2 of my favorite books. I can definitely read those again too. And then lastly, I have this book. It's called The Seelenhaus, so The Soul House by Hannah Kent. It plays in Iceland, and I actually bought it in Iceland. I also wrote some notes down about this. I came prepared. The book takes place in Iceland in the 19th century, so 1827 or something, I don't know. And the main character is, I thought it was a fiction book. I forgot that it's actually like based on a true story. And the main character is a woman called Agnes. Yeah, Agnes, who is accused of killing 2 men with 2 of her, not really friends, but like with 2 other people. So 3 people are accused of killing 2 other people, and you kind of follow her story where she goes from place to place, because in Iceland they don't really have, or like had at this time, any like actual prisons. So you would just be sent to a place to work there, and yeah, you just kind of have to like follow her. The plot is kind of long. Like it's not long like over like years or something, it's just I think a couple of months, but nothing really happens. You just like kind of follow her, but it's like I can't explain it. I really like this book too. Yeah, you just follow her around, and like the first places that she is, I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm like trying to not say anything too specific. The first places she's at, they don't treat her as well, and then she comes to this other place, which is like the main stage of the book, where they are really unsure of her at first, but then they like kind of actually let her work and like do something, and not just like lay around and like wait for her death basically. And while she's at this last place she's at, she also has this priest that should like guide her on her way to God before she's like dead, you know. And while she tells like this priest slowly, like she opens up very slowly, but she tells this priest her story, her personal story from like when she was a child and stuff, up until the murder. And it's really interesting because, you know, they like, I don't know who they are, these like men that rule Iceland, whatever. They think that she's just horrible and bad and just like a bad person, but in reality, at least from the viewpoint of this book, she's not all that bad. And I felt kind of bad about the ending because I thought, spoiler alert, I felt a little bit bad about the ending because I thought there was gonna be a plot twist. I was like waiting for it. I was waiting until the last page for like something to happen. Nothing did happen, and also because it's not fiction, I guess it's also kind of not a spoiler, because the woman actually was accused of those crimes and she was actually killed along with one of the other people that were involved in the murder. And I've read like she has, obviously like the book is like a story, and then in the last few pages she mentions that there's a lot of other stories like around Agnes, and this one is basically the only one that like sees Agnes as kind of a lovable and not all that bad person. A lot of other stories see her as kind of this bad witch almost, which is really interesting. And this author, Hannah Kent, researched in Iceland and from a lot of other books, and she went through like the lists where people are like their name and their religion and where they live, and I don't know how many kids they have and stuff. They used to do that back in the 19th century in Iceland, and she researched there too, so she kind of like tried to find connections that maybe other people didn't find, and I really like this viewpoint of the book. I might even like find some other books about this and read like the not so nice ones, but yeah, I think the story is really interesting. And I got this, like I said, in Iceland. I actually got this in like the area this is at. I had a map, I lost it because I went into like this small store in Iceland and they had this, and like they gave me the map and like explained to me where all of like these places were, but I lost it because I bought this I think to my mom and then it was somewhere else. Anyways, but this is also a really good book. Like if you've ever been to Iceland, she explains like the weather and like the nature and how it just feels there so well. Like it's not just like green hills or something, it's just kind of dark, and she explains it so well. I don't know, I really like this book too. And this kind of makes me want to get into not like fiction, but like fictional books that are not like these, like what are these called, like mindful books, I don't know, but more like storybooks, you know, and more a little bit like darker books. I actually have a book list, maybe I should share that with you too. Let me see. Yes, so I'm just gonna read to you my book list. These are the ones that I've already read. So just some I've heard a lot. These are tomorrow I'm actually gonna go book shopping / to a library to like set up an account and like take books from there. And I have a lot of books that I'm planning on reading. And I want to do at least like 2 or 3 in November, so I can do another one of these videos. And yeah, let's see. So one that I definitely want to read is Atomic Habits by James Clear. This is actually my Christmas wish list, so I'm probably only gonna read this in like January. Another one is Working Hard, Hardly Working by Grace Beverly, also on my Christmas wish list. I've heard also a lot about The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. I'm gonna try to find this at the library or at the bookshop. Then I have at home The Shining from Stephen King, because I really liked The Mist by Stephen Shining. I read The Mist in English and I have The Shining in German. I like his writing in English better, so I'm not sure if I'm actually gonna read the German version or get like the English version somewhere, but Stephen King is also really good. Then another one of like mind books is The Mountain Is You by Brianna Weiss, also on the Christmas wish list. Then I got a lot of recommendations for The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Not sure if that's like the German translation author or like the original author, but I definitely want to pick this up because apparently it's kind of sort of similar to Percy Jackson, and I love the Percy Jackson books. Like those were the last books that I read. I think there's somewhere between like 4 and 7 parts. I love them so much. I like soaked them up. I read, I think, probably like one in 1 to 2 days, and they're like almost double the size of this one. They were so good. I loved them. So yeah, The Songs of Achilles. Then I don't know what this is called in English, but Our Souls at Night. This is like a really different book. It's about 2 old neighbors who each lose their partner and then they kind of get together, which I feel like is a really like nice story, so I definitely am interested in this one. And then The Perfume. I watched that movie. It's really good, really weird, but really good, and I'm interested in the book too. So those are like some of my books that I want to read pretty soon. Also, Women Don't Owe You Pretty from Florence Given. I'm gonna see what I can find at the bookstore tomorrow. Like I said, I want to read 2 to 3 books in November, so I'm just gonna see which ones I can find. Maybe I'll find some like other ones that are not on my list. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed my little book talk today. I'm really excited for these videos because it kind of like gives my reading even more purpose. Like obviously reading has a purpose on its own because like the stories and you're like training your brain and stuff, but I feel like if I can like talk to someone, or like kind of talk to myself, but like talk to someone about the books, it's even more interesting for me, and I'm gonna stick to it even more. Just like with the written stuff, if I tell somebody about it, then I'm gonna stick to it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any suggestions on books, whether it be like what they call it, fiction books or like mindful books, I'm just gonna call them mindful books, whatever, let me know down below in the comments. I'm really interested to like see what other people like, because I haven't been reading for a long time, so I'm not really up to date with what's popular right now, besides the books that I read right now like on the list. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in one of my vlogs or in the next book talk. Bye!